What's up, y'all? This is Dre with Bill 206, Brothers United Leadership Development. This is Bill 206 Media. We're about to do another episode of Stories from the South End, where we're talking with cats that grew up in the South End, things that we went through to navigate to get to where we're at in our life now, share some stories. So I got this young brother who I grew up with, named BG. He's bigger than everybody now. He was a little homie back in the day, but he's bigger than everybody. He's doing a lot of things in the community as well as got his own marketing company. So I'm gonna bring this brother on, and he's gonna share some of the stories we're gonna jump into, making things. I see he's in the back studio, so I'm gonna bring him on and get it popping. What's good with you, bro?
What's up with it, man? How you doing?
Same old, man. Trying to stay in the mix and out the way, man.
There you go. That's how we do it.
What's up with you?
I can't complain at all, man. I'm chilling, just getting off of work, man. Down at the Seattle Urban League. But yeah,
That's
I'm
what's up.
maintaining, man. Working, staying out the way.
That's what's up. That's the best thing to do, out the way, especially right now. Like, it's a lot of people lost their jobs, so it's good that you're able to maintain that and also help some folks from the community. So that's
Yeah,
dope.
I was gonna say definitely. Right now, society's starting to open back up, so it's a lot more opportunities for people to start getting employed and finding employment and getting back into the workforce. And so I'm definitely happy to be here to bridge that gap.
That's what's up. So let's start off just with you telling folks a little bit about yourself. I know me and you know each other, but I want to give folks that don't know, you could share whatever you want to share a little bit about yourself.
Of course, of course. My name is Brian Gatewood, like you said, BG. South End kid, grew up what is it? First we was over off of Edmonds, right there by Columbia Plaza. It's from Columbia Plaza to 38th and Genesee. Like, we right there, blue house on the corner. But then been through a whole lot over the years. But I was able to bounce back, and now I'm over at the Seattle Urban League. I'm one of the employment coordinators down there. So yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? You said Columbia Plaza. Anybody from the South End definitely know what the Columbia
Oh
Plaza.
yeah.
Somebody slide through there now, it's a PCC or something now.
Yeah,
So,
I just slid through here the other day and was just, amazed at how different it is right now. It's
right,
a
man.
whole different world, a whole different vibe.
But the little blue house on 38th and Genesee is
Yeah, it's
still
right
there,
there. Yeah,
right
the
there on
house is still right there, man. I slid over there and was looking at it. They came up looking at me crazy.
the corner pocket right there.
You already
So,
know.
so
But I
jump
was
in
like,
that.
I took my son on a little tour of the hood. Like, we was all over. I was telling him from all the way down to Chubby, where Chubby and Chubby was.
Man, Chubbies and Tubbies. Man, it was going down. That's all. Everybody used to get their Christmas trees from Chubbies and
I'm
Tubbies.
saying.
The
My,
a real throwback. I don't know if you remember that, but they had the Pan Pack.
nope.
Pan,
See, I think that was
yeah,
before me, before my time.
that's where Safeway is now. It used to be a Pan Pack.
Where the little strip mall is right now, the old Safeway.
Yeah,
Yeah, right there on Genesee. Like a lot of people don't remember they had the Safeway right there.
yeah, I remember that. It was Max Foods. All Safeway. The new one down on 38th or 30 on Andover. It used to be Max Foods when it first opened.
Yeah, I remember all that. They had the little barber shop right there, right next. Man, there was all kind of stuff right there.
It's lit. So share as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were a kid, like what was your like? What did you want to do? What did you want to do?
I'm like, that's one thing. Like I just was speaking with my son about. There wasn't really like an occupation that I wanted to be. I just, used to always speak about being successful. And so success as a kid, like, just like every kid is, having money and, having all the things that you see on TV. Like, that was my success. But it wasn't like an occupation that I used to be like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And so like, and that was that lasted up and damn near until adulthood. I, was kind of not knowing the direction. And that's one of the reasons that I got into so much stuff that some of the negative stuff that I got into was just a lack of guidance. And so it wasn't until recently that I started even figuring out kind of the path that I wanted to take as far as, what success looked like to.
Yeah, I don't know if you froze up or what, but yeah. Oh, you're back. You're back now. You froze
Okay.
up for a
Okay.
hot second, so you're
That's-
good. I heard
Yep.
what you were saying about, maybe until you got to adulthood, you until now, like you're kind of figuring out where you want to be and
Yeah.
what you want to do. And so, I guess the next question is like, you know, we all kind of got in the mix at some point, kind of got in traffic, got in the fast lane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gotten straight out the back streets into the carpool express lanes. And started moving a
Already.
little bit too fast. So when did you start getting in track? Because even when I remember you as a kid, like you was kind of just running around at late night, so you were just like innocent little kid. You know what I'm saying? So I know at
Yeah,
some point you made the transition to start getting in the mix a little bit. So I want you to share a little bit about what the process was for you on that.
yeah. I'm like, I jumped off the porch early, and it's because I was just raised in it. Like you said, like I was running around at late night, 2 a.m. at 11. And so all the cats that I was, you know, locking with and like feeling like was like the older homies or like the homies my age was either already with it or getting ready to jump off the porch with it. So it was just something that I gradually just ended up in. Like it's not like it was something that like like I forced myself or like went out searching for it. It just was the way I was brought up. I got an older brother. I'm the youngest of all the kids, and so it's just I was kind of following the movements of all the older homies. Which ended up getting me in the shit. So I jumped off the porch early, like early what 12. you know and so my mom, trying to move us out the way, moved us right into the thick of it on accident. She was bouncing us around and trying to get us out of the way, to keep us out of trouble, and kind of we dove head first into the game.
Yeah, you spoke on a little bit. I want you to elaborate a little more. Like, what are some things that kind of got you in the mix? You talked about some of your peers and
Yeah, yeah.
being exposed early, but you don't know if there's anything else that you want to elaborate on that. Like, what made you want to get in the mix? At that point.
So it's just the same as anybody else. Fast money, like you see everybody else, on, everybody's on, got money and doing this and this and that, whatever. And so you kind of, that's like your blueprint. You kind of get the blueprint of how to do the same thing. And so if everybody's around you doing it, like it's kind of hard to not, even though we had a lot of cats that was successful as far as sports go, and but they still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so it was hard to not want to jump, like I said, jump off the porch and dive right into it. And so it's something I would do all over again though, because it made me who I am right now.
Yeah, just thinking back as as now you're reflecting and like you said, you're doing different things. Working with the Urban League and
Yeah.
giving back to community. I don't know if you had a chance to think about it, but what could have stopped you from getting in the mix? Like what types of things could have potentially stopped you from getting out there, doing things that you may have should or should not have been doing.
Yeah. So now being, the age I am, and being, looked at as, somewhat of one of the big homies, like it's just like what I do is I'm a constant presence. Like, when I first off breathe life into people that I speak to. I'm like, bro, like, this ain't the way you gotta do it. You could do, because this cats are still out here, in the streets ripping and running. But I'm like, bro, you don't gotta serve it like this. You can do it like this. What the money that you're making out here, you can do it this way. So what I do is like, and what could have saved me is somebody doing the same thing, like somebody that I respected, actually sitting me down and like giving me the game on, a different route. What I could have done to be successful in other fields or whatever. And so that's like I said, in the position I am right now, that's how I serve it. That's why all the kids that's beneath me, like they all the way out the way. Everybody either in school trying to be successful that way or already working working in the work force or whatever. But something like that, like a guy, a guide that I respected, to pretty much map stuff out, or just even open my eyes that there was a better way. Because that's one thing in the hoods you don't really get. You don't get a lot of cats like breathing life into you, telling you could be successful, doing something legit or successful in this field, or this is how you could do this, or there wasn't a whole lot of that. And so that's how 90% of the cats that's out here got wrapped up into it, because their older homies is out there in the field themselves. And so somebody a positive guide, or somebody that could would have given me assistance, would have I think altered my course.
Yeah, and part of that is socialization because I remember me just thinking back when I lost my brother, just thinking about like programs like late night hang time, those types of
Yeah,
things. Being able to, as me not growing up without a dad, like those were places where I was able to link up with, you know, positive black men. You know what I mean?
most definitely. Yeah,
But then I was also thinking about cats that were putting me on, and at the time I thought they were lacing me up, but really they were putting me in the fast lane, and not to say that they were being malicious because that's what they do. They were serving what they were served. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's kind of what you're saying. Like this is the environment that you were in. What I'm hearing,
yeah,
the environment that you were in, there wasn't many people that could show you a different path. You know what I mean?
Nah,
Could
not at
show you
all.
which
Like,
way. Yeah,
and it's like, it's not that cats didn't want to like help. They thought they was helping. Putting you on to whatever they was on with is their, them helping. And so it's just like, it's the cycle just got to be broken. And that's what I'm out here trying to do is break that cycle.
that's what's up. So, what core values do you feel like you learned growing up in the South End?
I'm like, man, first off, just the, family, like, how strong family is. 'Cause we was a tight knit community. Everybody knew everybody. Parents knew parents, kids knew kids, and and like I definitely value all that. Like up until right now, I try to put together, community organization, projects and stuff like that, just to try to bring back that feel of that tight knit community, because that's one of the strongest things that that I took out of the hood. Like is just knowing everybody. Like now it's crazy. Like it's cats from the hood that you have no idea who they are. Never heard of them, never seen them before. It's just like there wasn't that back in the day. From
Yeah,
the little kids to the oldest. Like everybody knew everybody.
and we were all there. Now with
Yeah,
gentrification, with cats being all pushed out, cats is repping, where other folks grew up or whatever. So I mean, yeah, I think I interviewed Clown the other day, and I just talked about for me growing up in the South, and some of the core values, was like respect, trust, accountability,
yeah,
the brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? The family piece. Those are definitely things that I carry into how I move now. Those form me. In the way I do things now. So yeah, the family is definitely, like you said, the community, the brotherhood, that, like everybody knew everything. Everybody was looking out for everybody.
yeah. That was
So that was
big.
dope.
And
Yeah.
I was a little young dude out there ripping and running. So like the hood raised me. All the older cats. Like I'm out there being bad as hell. Like and it was, you know, they kept me out the way, in all the way in the way, but like out the way, out of harm's way. I say.
Right. So the next question is, is going to be a little more personal. It's about, trying to figure out, as a lot of us were in the mix, cats got caught up,
Yeah,
into the system, the way the system's designed. You know what I mean? So we want to give people an opportunity who's been through that, or have been impacted by that, just to, have a little bit of conversation around it. So,
most definitely.
if you feel comfortable sharing, wanted to know if you've been locked up before.
Yes, definitely. 2005, I took a plea bargain for 60 months. Ended up doing 3.5 years on the 60 months. And so, like, yeah,
And then, so did being locked up change you? Like,
yeah, most definitely. And so I speak on this frequently, and like it's not like the time. What it is it's the mental aspect of being incarcerated and having somebody, you know, tell you when you can and can't do something, or when you got to get up and when you can go to sleep and when you can eat, when you can't. Like that mental aspect is something, as a strong-minded individual, like that is, that's the prison. And so like it changed me a whole lot. Like I sat through that, and like I did my time, and then like that's once you step out, it's just like, man, I can't see myself going through that again. And so I had to recognize in myself the changes that needed to be made to avoid that. And so I've been out ever since. I stepped out, and like I said, like it was 30 days before my 21st birthday. And I'm like, I ain't ever seen this side of them walls again.
so I guess when I asked, did it change? Like, did it change your behavior, or did it change? You know what I'm saying? Were you solved? Like all your issues were gone after you
Nah,
got
not at
locked
all.
up? Yeah.
Nah,
So I
not
guess
at all. It's not.
elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm like, it's definitely not a one-stop shop to where you step out and like you instantly change. But what it did is it just started the ball moving in a different direction. Like, before, like I didn't think about like recourse and like everything that could potentially happen, like if as a result of my actions. And so like, after that, you kind of like stop and be like, man, like, I ain't trying to slide back in there. So, let me move a little bit different. But like, it's definitely not a, an instant change. It was gradual. I got out, I was still all the way in, in the mix, but just gradually, and then another thing is, I had my son. So I got out to a son, my son's mom was pregnant, like during the time that I caught my case. So I got out to a son. So I had a whole different set of responsibilities. And just like, the time, and then my son is just combined with, ended up being what I needed specifically for me to just start changing little by little, to start seeing that it's more to life than just me and, the things that I was trying to accomplish as far as, in the streets. And so, it definitely changed you, but it's not a one stop, shop, and it's not going to be an instant thing, but gradually, like, it did change me.
That's what's up. And you kind of dove into this a little bit, and because the next question is kind of like, how did it impact folks around you? So, you had a kid, you had,
Yeah,
your son's mother, your mom, your family, other people, because we just want to kind of give people an opportunity to elaborate, like how
yeah,
that, being taken away from those places, how that puts pressure on relationships, how, how did that impact folks around you?
yeah, man. The biggest thing people got to understand is that when you get locked down, all the people that love you is a part of them is locked down too. And so, that's the one thing that was big with me, because when you first get in there, you expect life to stop for everybody because it stopped for you. And so, like, you kind of get a reality check, like, like you put yourself in there, like, so everybody else's life is still moving. Like, they're going to be there as much as possible, but like, you can't, force them to be there as much as you would like, because they still got, jobs, everyday life, like, all the responsibilities that come with that. And so, like, it affects everybody, everybody in your circle, everybody, like, that depends on you, is everybody's affected by your absence. And so, that was another thing. I'm like, I got too many people that depend on me for me to go back, and so that's always in the forefront of my mind. Like, when it comes down to me making certain decisions, I'm like, I can't remove myself from this position because there's so many people that depend on me and would be hurt by my absence. And so, like I said, like, just with my even everyday life to this point, like, I still stop and kind of reflect before I make certain decisions, because I'm like, I can't afford it.
Yeah. So I'm assuming the answer is yes to this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Do you know anybody else who's been locked up?
Man, I'm saying my whole circle, damn every relative I got been, been sat down, whether guilty or not, but everybody's been sat down at one point or the other. There's I still got relatives that's sitting there right now that it took, a life. But so, yeah.
And I guess, as a kid or even as an adult, like I said, we just want to know what the impact is. So, like, how did that impact you growing up, being exposed to that, or just even now? Like, like you said,
Yeah.
these relatives and folks that are just, gone.
So as a kid, it impacted me greatly because I've spoken to people before. I watched my dad be incarcerated numerous times. Then, like, as we're growing up, my brother going through it, all the older homies, going through it. And so it becomes a norm. It becomes a normal, and it becomes something that you feel like, at one point you're going to have to experience. And so that ends up being a truth, once you get to the age, like, my first time getting locked up, I was young, I was 12. And it was like, something small, but then they take you to the station, they let you go. Then, like, you kind of lose fear of that, because at first, when you grow up, and there's, bad decision that you plan on making or think about making, that's like in the back of your head, the fear of incarceration or the fear of getting caught or getting in trouble. But once you start losing all that, you start doing, or being wild with no regard, because, there's, and that ends up happening, and that ended up happening in my life, like, seeing so much incarceration, and being right there in the forefront and seeing all that, like, it affected me a whole lot. And so, like, the way I bring my son up, like, he doesn't know anything about that. Like, I teach him about, incarceration. I'll tell him my story, but like, he doesn't see, there's nobody in his life that has been incarcerated, or none of that. Like, he seemed like his uncle, but I tell him, like, I'm like, I tell him down to every detail, because I don't want him to, feel like that's a part of his path. I'm like, we so far from that. I'm like, nah, like, you're never gonna have to experience that. But but that's, like I said, for myself growing up, it became a norm. Everybody from the hood, experienced at one point in my eyes. So I'm like, that's where I'm gonna end up at some point too. And so it just like we was talking about in the other instance. Like, I'm like, somebody has to break that cycle and start telling these kids, that, like, that's just because it was your parents, or because it was your brothers or the people close to you.
Like you said, it becomes a norm, an expectation, or a norm, and it's really nothing normal about it, right? It's
Nah, yeah,
not.
not at all.
It is the extreme. It's not even supposed to be the extreme. It's really the extreme, but it's really nothing normal about it. But it's like kind of like, I was even, thinking about like, sometimes, like it's like a rites of passage, right? Oh, this
Yeah,
cat's fresh out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's filthy. Nah, that's not filthy. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we really got to change what we think is cool, what we uplift. You know what I'm saying? But part of that is given to us through socialization, movies, music, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which
Most definitely.
we know who controls that. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
part of the game is for us to, start drinking the juice. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you sharing that. I want to transition kind of, some things that you feel like we can do now, like currently. And I know you're tapped in on some of this stuff, and you shared some things that you felt like could have made a difference for you.
yeah.
But what do you think we can do to help this current generation and the next generation stay out the mix, out of traffic?
Man, I'm saying first and foremost, like fathers be fathers. Like, if you got kids, man, don't leave them to be raised by the streets, because it's not really a whole lot of options like when the streets is raising you. And like, a lot of us hear it or been hearing it since we were young, like, you're gonna end up dead or in jail. And that's, it ends up being the truth. And so fathers, man, step up to the plate, man, do your job, do your fatherly duties, and don't leave your kids to be raised by the streets. Cause that's the first and foremost, like, be a presence, be the one that, you instill values and things inside your kid. Don't let the streets do it. But then, like, it's going to, just like they used to say, man, it takes a village. So like the community has to get involved. Like brothers who you might not even have no kids, but right from wrong, and you know how to, you know, put somebody and move them to the right path. And so it's going to take, like I said, first and foremost, fathers step up and actually be present. And the community, like, start putting together organizations and start bringing these kids together and, show them, different pathways. Because there's a lot of kids, I talk to kids every day. There's a lot of them that legit start thinking at an early age that they won't be anything. And so like you talk, you speak that into existence. And so, like we got to step up and start putting stuff together and start showing these kids that they can be a whole lot more than whatever they're thinking.
Yeah, that self worth, self value is huge, right? If you think you can be nothing, and
Yeah,
sometimes we got the swag and all that, so we're coming off like we got it together, like like I don't got low self esteem, but really a lot of our moves and actions really be tied to like what we feel like our self value and what we can and can't do. And I'm glad you highlighted fatherhood because I think that's very important. As men, we got to step up and take care of our kids as well as, like you said, take care of others, coach, volunteer, give back, just be consistent with how we do things to make sure that we're changing what's acceptable, what's normal in our community, regardless of what society has told us and force fed us. That we're gonna change. So I'm glad you brought up father because I think that's definitely important. And I'm happy to see a lot of cats that I grew up with that didn't have dads or dads were in the mix. That people are taking care of their kids. You know what I'm saying? People are
yeah,
really, even though we don't be uplifted, that's why we do our Father's Day event, different things to really highlight a lot of black men are out here, regardless what the narrative says. A lot of cats are out here, involved deeply in what their kids are doing. So,
yeah, most definitely.
uh, and then what supports you think, and we talked about like having a father and stuff like that. Like, what supports do you feel like their families need? Because it's not just about the kids. It's sometimes like the kids sometimes are getting in the mix because the family's not stable or the mom, or
Yeah,
some So what supports do you feel like they need? I know with me, for a certain point, my mom was raising five of us by herself and there wasn't, at a certain point, we were already down the path. Me and my brother were already
yeah,
down the path, and she really needed some supports to make sure that to try to reel us back in, and maybe I don't think she really got that. So, so I guess that's another piece is like when we're thinking about programs, like there's all this conversation around defund police, but and what, right? Like what's next? That's
yeah,
why I'm at. That's why I want to ask this question. Like, what do folks feel like is needed? Like, what types of activities, programs, interventions are needed from people who actually been through the mix. The other thing is like we want to provide a platform for folks who really grew up in the mix and got caught up in the blender. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And so they can share what it is. And otherwise, you got people that are just advocating for this stuff, and it sounds like they didn't wrote a thesis on it. You know what I'm saying? They done
yeah,
wrote a
yeah.
paper on it, but they really don't get it. So that's part of the process is with this stories from the South and other podcasts that we're trying to get people who really been through it tapped in and give them a voice.
Well, I'm saying support is definitely a necessity. And I could think personally, just like you said, using your family as an example, like that, the programs, man, community programs where these kids can go and, first off, they got to be programs where people or children are going to where they feel like, it's something that's cool, because there was programs when I was growing up too. But like, if you got programs ran and like, no shade against the older generation, but if you're pulling up to a program where some old heads trying to drop, knowledge on you, it's going to go through one ear and out the other. And so we got to put together programs where it's cats that are still, looked at as being, cool and relatable, but still dropping like some knowledge, like, dropping some game. And it's something that they're going to soak up. You can't have a 70-year-old cat in there telling you, like, what you should be doing with your life, and you talking to a 15, 16-year-old. It just, it's just there's that gap is so big, like there's no relation, And so, like that's step one, because I know just for myself, like I'm still viewed as like, somewhat young enough to really sit down with some kids, and I think it's relatable. We could chop, we listen to some of the same music. I know all the lingo, and like we sit there and actually chop it up and have a conversation. They'll soak up the things that I'm saying and not just sit there being spoken to and not really, soaking it in. But then there's got to be programs for these adults too, where you can kind of learn, like, ways to relate to your kids and ways that you can, and then programs where you can, fund some trips or something like that, like something just to try to change things, like, to try to switch up some of the directions of this stuff. Like, because like, just even my situation, my mom was raising two big kids and, and then my sister, my older sister. But it's like, with us, like if she was able to, we was able to go to a program together, all, my mom included, with us, like go to a program that can teach us, like, some bonding, or something like, teach it to just something that we could do together and have some cats that's relatable, dropping some gems, And I don't know exactly what that looks like as far as like putting something together, but like just have something like that included. And I think that'll help a lot.
No, that's real because, like you said, some of it is social norms, and sometimes people may not know what real normalcy looks like because of the socialization.
Yeah.
And and something as simple like you said is that's all going together on a trip. Having resources to take a family on a trip and do different things. Like some people don't have money to go on vacation. They don't have
Yeah.
things like that
You
to
never leave
actually do
out the
that
hood.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
so
cats that never left.
people think it's like common sense, but really it's like if you don't got the resources and you got to work and worry about all this other stuff, capitalism is kicking your ass, right?
Yeah.
And so you're always and you don't really get no time to really slow down. So that's the whole point of asking these questions, to get, like I said before when I framed it up, is really to get the voice of folks, like what do people think, how things could look different. You know what I mean? What
Yeah.
can we do? What can we spend our taxpayer money on to make sure that we got the supports that we need that are actually benefiting people to where they actually can thrive, instead of being punitive and not really correcting people's behavior, or
Yeah.
correcting, or not even correcting the behavior, eliminating the situations that created the behavior.
Most definitely.
So
And that's the one
so
thing
we
I can say the jail does not do. Like, there's no
right.
correction, there's no rehabilitation. Like, that's, and just from experience, I can say, sometimes you mess around and go to jail and then end up just learning how to be a better criminal, and that's not reform, and that's not it, So it definitely, like, it'll start on the streets, not in jail.
Right. And we want to catch people upstream before they get to that point
Most
anyways,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, that's
So
the goal.
transition a little bit now to talk a little bit about you again. What goals do you have now? As an adult, like you said, you started kind of figuring things out, what you want to do, what path you want to be on. So I want you to give you an opportunity to kind of share what goals you have for yourself now.
Yeah, so with me, like my goal is to change a whole lot. And so at this point in my life, like I'm trying to pretty much help as much as possible. Like that's my biggest goal. Like, I figured out a way to, create my own business to where I got money coming in. And so like that, that's a lot of people's main focus is finances. And so like I'm not rich by far, but like I got a steady flow of income to where I can now use, my experiences and the things that I've been through to help positively impact, some other people. And so that's what my goal is at this point. And that's why I ended up signing on with the Seattle Urban League, because it's just like now, like, I want to be able to give back, like, because like, definitely, like, the community is giving me a whole lot. It's not all bad stories. Like there's a whole lot of positive too. And like, and like I see that it only takes so much to change somebody's life, forever. It take just you can sit down and have a conversation and breathe life into somebody and they're changed forever. And so like, and so that's my goal as far as, life from here on out, is to just use my resources and my networks and everything that I got going to and start helping, start letting these cats know that there's better things to do, and like, teaching them the game and teaching them the routes that I took to get my, or to find the success that I found. And so that's it for, for me. Like, like I feel satisfied, just helping,
Well, the other piece is, just to keep you on the right path, and this is, something that I can commit to and other folks too. Like I think people hearing just like what supports do you feel like you need to achieve your goals because it's a vision, right? This is what I want to do. These are the things I want to do. I want to get to community. Like what supports do you need to actually make that happen? Because that's what I'm saying. It's talking about how we need to change our culture, change the norms,
yeah,
change the stuff that we're on so we all can get on. We may not all agree on the way we need to do things, but I think we all agree that there's some things need to change, right? And backing up a little bit, um, kids aren't a lot of times people think like the kids, oh, we got to get these kids. The kids aren't the problem. Kids are learning behavior from somebody,
most definitely,
adults,
yeah,
in society and this and that. So it's just all a lot of this is learned behavior. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I just want to, try to provide an opportunity for you to share like what supports you feel like you need to be successful in achieving the goals that you just outlined.
I'm like, first off, education is a must, and that's not just it. Just like you said, not for kids, like because a lot of the parents don't, know how to, get right either, and so they're gonna, just like you said, they're gonna push that down onto the kids. It's a cycle that needs to be broken. And so how I try to do, or the things that I try to do to provide, like, that information is like, so like I've been we didn't have conversations about stock trading and, just different avenues of creating, revenue. And there needs to be like, community classes that we can all come together and share this information that we've, gathered, like, along the path. And, just, that's a start. Like, that's the beginning. Like, let's put together, you know, whether it be a podcast or a Zoom or in person, like something to where we can sit down and talk about finances and how, people can put together. Cause like, people automatically assume, or the people that I've spoken to assume that you need to start, building your finances with a huge amount of capital, which is not true. You could take them small little, small little things and create something bigger, And so just education and, like I said, a lot of it starts with finances. So education on finances is a must to me.
Yeah, and I'm on that. Whenever you want to do that, we could do the show or whatever. That's what I'm saying. Because we need people that look like us, that understand like us, that talk like us, to be able to spread the message for it to resonate. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So whenever I'm down to support you in that, however I can, for sure. That's easy. That's a layup. You know what I mean? I
for
think
sure.
we got the platform to do it. We just gotta slap it together and make it happen. So we can wrap outside of this and figure out ways that we can roll. I know we talked about it a few times, but
Yeah,
I agree that financial literacy is huge in understanding credit and interest and taxes and all that stuff when it comes
all
to
that.
investing, compound interest and
And
all
like,
that
that
all that good stuff.
all that stuff is intimidating for somebody that doesn't know that it's really all the information is right there. But it's just like it's packaged so intimidating, like, because even with me, like I didn't end up going to a class or anything. I just ended up having with the pandemic. I just had a little bit more time to study, and so I sat there and studied myself. But initially, it's just like it's so much information. It seems like it's like you'll never be able to get a grasp on it. But like, you once you got somebody to sit down and actually break it down, like, it's not as hard as people think. And then, like, like I said, a small investment can become huge. And so, yeah, like, it's something that we could definitely put together. I'll be all in.
Let's build it. I'm with it. And so this is the next question is like it been a trendy thing going on, and I'm intentionally asking this of black folks and moreover black men. It's a trendy thing, going on talking about self care, self love, and all that. So I really want to, and if you're not doing anything, it's cool, but it's an opportunity for us to have a conversation. Like I said, press each
Yeah,
other. But what have you done during this time? Like this whole last year has been hella crazy with the uprising, crazy ass election cycle,
yeah.
COVID, everything else. You know what I'm saying? So what have you been doing to like take care of yourself during this time?
And it definitely it impacts the mental health greatly. Like, and so it's what I do personally. Like, I go out and just get out the way, like to decompress. Like, I just get out the way. And so, like, just this last weekend, we went out to Milwaukee, Oregon. And so, like, you go out there and get a little spot on the river and just decompress, like, do nothing. Sit out there and, just vibe, think back on how you can be a better person when you come back home. Like, It's just, I do that, and I do it frequently. Every weekend I'll try to figure out something that I could do to just get out the way and like break the normalcy of just the everyday life. And like, it does help the mental health. Like, because, at first in the beginning of the pandemic, we were all stuck. Like, we all in the house, like, don't know if it's cool to leave or not. And so, like, it just starts, it takes a toll. Like I said, over time, like I figured, just I still kind of stay out the way. But like, I get out and just decompress, man. And it helps a whole lot. Like, it recharges your battery.
Yeah, and I just want to, like I said, talking about changing the norm, like having these types of conversations and sharing strategies and tactics that folks are doing. Hopefully, other people can garner that, and what works for you may not work for other people, but at least they have
Most
some
definitely.
tools. At least they
Yeah.
have some tools in their belt to make things happen. So the last question isn't necessarily a question for you. It is a question, but I try to be equitable since I've been asking all these questions. If you had, I didn't know if you had any questions for me.
Nah, not really any questions, but man, big ups to you, man. It's been dope seeing somebody that, like, I've been knowing since I was a kid, man. Break the cycle and really start putting a foot down on trying to, get some change. And and just like the name says, build, man. You out here building, and big ups to you, man. I applaud you. You've
Yeah, I
been
appreciate it.
been an inspiration to me.
Yeah, that's dope, and that's what it is. It's like Tupac said, I may not be the one who change the world, but I guarantee I'll spark the one, so it's all about the
Yeah,
pebble, you know what I mean? So,
most definitely.
and it's definitely a team, like sometimes people think like I'm the face of it, but there's definitely a team around me that makes things happen. Community can't, we're nothing without community. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're happy to be able to provide a platform and space to have real, uncut, raw conversations around shit that really impacts instead of other people prescribing stuff to us or
Yeah,
saying this is what they need. So I appreciate the ups and like I said, you slid through a couple of our events and we talked about. Matter of fact, I think we both got an award from the Sound Music Awards a few
yeah,
years back.
yeah,
We were
yeah.
talking about tapping down and tapping in, and we've been in communication off and on. So I'm looking forward to really just sitting down and seeing how we can collaborate. And then I know you guys are out in the 253, so how can we go build 253 too? Because we need to be everywhere where our people are at.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a lot of us that ended up out here, and so they need it just like everybody else. They all these communities out here struggling. And so yeah, so it would be dope to build some stuff out here as well.
Let's do it. Layup. So, all right, bro. I appreciate you, taking some time out your day to come chop up, share some stories from the South End, talk about how some of this stuff's impacted you, giving us some good game on things that we could put in place to, make the world a better place for our community. So, I'll definitely be in touch with you around some activities, programs, and events, and even
Yeah, yeah,
supporting you in your role that you're in, as well as, we talked about, maybe doing some kind of financial literacy type, investing type podcast, something, quick and make some things happen.
most definitely.
All right, bro. One love.
Hey, all right, family.
All right, peace. So that's my guy BG. Brian Gatewood grew up in the South End of Seattle. He's dropping gems, talking about some of the trials and tribulations that he been through in his life. But as you see, cats are resilient. We're very resilient. Black people, black men, everything is very resilient. If we weren't, we wouldn't be here. All the stuff that we've been through, and we're still thriving. So once again, this is Dre with Brothers United Leadership Development. This is Stories from the South End. Until next time, peace.